Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Alibori Department in Benin. Now, Alibori is the largest department of Benin, but that is mainly because there is a lot of green forest area here. When you think of like northern and western Africa, you have the Sahara up top, which goes into the Sahel, which is where the green area meets the Sahara, and then you have the jungle. So pretty much this area here, which marks Niger from Benin, is like one of the lines where like this is Sahel up here and this is not. This is very thick jungly forest, and you'll see it on Google Earth after I go over the history. It is very, very green. As you can see, there are lots of little towns here and there, but they Kandy is the largest here, but they aren't cities, right? They are towns, they are villages, they are very tiny. It is mostly a place for farmers and ranchers and park rangers, because Alibori is home to the W National Park. The W, or W as they would say here, stretches out into Burkina Faso and Niger, but most of it is here in Benin. Very, very large animal population here, including elephants. So you know what that means on my channel. We gotta get Topple, the ASMR elephant, out here. I'm gonna try to rub his ears against the mic for you. I gotta move my windscreen a bit to do that. Okay. One second. I gotta move it out all the way. The W is a really, really beautiful park. And it's also, let me brush his trunk against the mic for you too. It is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, thank you, Topple. Let me move this back so I don't breathe heavily into the microphone. There we go. Okay. And let me pull up my tablet to show you information about the W National Park. So it is the Arli Pinjari, because actually, let me show you real quick. The Pinjari National Park is down here. It's not in Alibori, so we're not going to talk about it, but the parks kind of bleed into each other to make this kind of huge green complex. And why is it called the W, first of all? I pulled up its Wikipedia page here because it has a really good picture showing you the river that at one point makes this W shape. So the park is named after these bends in the river. It's really kind of hard to see from above, but this picture really outlines it. So the W Arli Pinjari Complex. This transnational extension to Benin and Burkina Faso to the W National Park of Niger, inscribed in 1996 on the World Heritage List, cover a major expanse of intact Sudano-Sahelian savanna, with vegetation types including grasslands, shrublands, wooded savanna, and extensive gallery forests. It includes the largest and most important continuum of terrestrial, semi-aquatic, and aquatic ecosystems in the West African savanna belt. The property is a refuge for wildlife species that have disappeared elsewhere in West Africa or are highly threatened. It is home to the largest population of elephants in West Africa, and most of the large mammals typical of the region, such as the African manatee, cheetah, lion, and leopard. It also harbors the only viable population of lions in the region. Let's look at some pictures of sweet animals here. So it looks like they're doing something in the water here with these nets. They'd be collecting some fish. There are these cool baobab trees throughout the park that they build these little cabins, little, I assume, research centers, or maybe even like overnight sleeping areas to observe the wildlife here without disturbing it. It's birds there, some sweet deer. Oops, we need to see more. More cabins. There's some cheetahs, buffalo, gazelles, or something like that. There's some lions, elephants. If you don't know, elephants are my favorite. That's why we have top. Oh, there's a warthog. Sweet little monkey. Ooh, a little wildcat there. Ooh, big osprey. Pretty birds here. A chomper. Some kind of fishy guy. Look at that. Interesting. Little lizards and insects. Sweet elephants. Ooh, there's some kind of monitor, or looks like a Gila monster even up in that tree. Some storks, hippos, beautiful landscapes. It's just a very, very lovely, lovely park, isn't it? Look at this guy. Look at these. Very, very neat. Very little magical place here in West Africa. Alright, thank you, tablet, for now. So, the history of this region is it's very hard to find things about it because, like I said, these are just villages and national parks. Not a lot of just straight history that happened here, but kind of like when I did my last video on Madagascar, where there was also not a lot of history, there's lots of legends. So let's get into that, because this region here is part of the Borgu Kingdom. Borgu is mostly over here in Nigeria, but it also is in here. And the legend is that it was founded by a man named Kisra and his sons and family. Now, there is a little grain of truth to the legend of Kisra in that we do know that at some point there was a mass migration of the Borgu peoples into this area here. Probably in like the 14th, 15th century, but we don't really know for sure. The legend says it's in the 7th century, which I kind of doubt, but it's the legend. And again, we'll never actually know, so maybe it's true, you know. So we do know that a migration of peoples did happen, but where did they come from? Why did they move? So there are two legends about Kisra. One of them is kind of boring, that he was a Persian king that was defeated by the Byzantines and kicked out, and he took his people down to here. Interesting, but the other legend is much more interesting, I think. That legend is that Kisra ruled on the Arabian Peninsula, and he had magical powers. None could rival him, but there was a prophecy that a boy would be born that would be able to rival his powers and become more powerful than him, and he said, nonsense. When this boy is going to be born, I'm going to expel all the men so that no men can conceive a son at this time. But he had a daughter who was married, and he did not kick out his son-in-law, and they conceived the boy. And that boy, Muhammad. I did a double take, like, wait, what? Like, the Muhammad? Yes, the Muhammad, according to legend. And it wasn't just that Muhammad had, magical powers. Muhammad was the prophet, the last prophet of Islam, who obviously became much, much more powerful than Kisra. And Kisra fought against Muhammad, which, I mean, Muhammad did fight against people, so a little grain of truth there. And Kisra lost and had to move his people out of the peninsula, and they eventually settled here and restarted their kingdom. I think that story's way cooler. Probably not true, even a little bit, but I like it. Especially since these people are majority Muslim. So then culture brought Islam with them here. And this region in particular, the city of Kandy, was founded by an offshoot of the Borgu kingdom called the Bariba kingdom. And there's lots of different ethnic groups here. I can't say for sure if the Bariba is the dominant one, because there are also like Yoruba peoples and many others. But they're the dominant here in Kandy, in the largest town in Alibori. Not much else happened here until the colonization days. The French had quite a firm grip on most of Western Africa. The British had a good grip along the coastlines here, and the British were expanding up into Nigeria, encroaching on lots of French territory. So apparently for Alibori, they drew the line at the Niger River, which flows right here. I don't know about all this. I assume that's also rivers. You just can't see them on the map because of the boundary lines. But they agreed, okay, you have this side, we have this side. And so Benin is a French-speaking country today. Nigeria is dominantly English-speaking. And pretty much that's where we are today. Like, couldn't find any actual, like, history, you know. Today, though, this area is not quite all sunshine and rainbows. There is actually quite a lot of minor conflict happening up here from many different parties. The majority of the violence comes from poachers fighting against the rangers here in the park. I was reading a study that in 2020 there were 15 poacher ranger related deaths. I don't know on which side, but poachers are coming in with weapons to not only illegally kill animals, but to kill the rangers. So that's terrifying. Yikes. There's also lots of little regional conflict between rangers and farmers. You know, the farmer and the cowboy are not quite friends here, like in Oklahoma. There's also little pockets of Islamist extremists as well, which is always very concerning to have religious extremists that are violent. So it is not 100% a peaceful little area, but compared to many other places, not just in the world, but in West Africa, it's a lot more peaceful than others. So that being said, let's take a look at what we can on Google Earth. There isn't really much to show you because, oops, forgot my camera's low. It's just green. So let me zoom out so you can see where we are and so I can show you the difference between the landscapes here. So here is the kind of, this area is considered West Africa. Up here you get North Africa. And here's Benin. Let me zoom out a little more. There's Africa. So you can very much see from above Sahara, Sahel, green, the jungles and forests. So as you can see, Alibori is pretty much like 99.9% green. The Sahel does not reach into there. That Niger River just cuts it off right there. So here we can see, and again, there's not really any good pictures, but you can see there's Kandy, which, I mean, for this area, this is a very large urban sprawl, but when you look closer, it's mostly just little homes and farms. It's not a city per se, very large concentrations of people, but it's mostly just homes and farms. There's a little stadium there. Looks like for football, right? Yeah. And yeah, there's not much else to show you. They have an airport. Let's say, where's the runway? Yeah, there's the airport. So it is the largest area and largest urban area, I suppose, and capital of Alibori, but not much to write home about, you know. And then you see all these other little towns. This very green space that, let's look at Saw. Like, these are villages. These are just little towns. It's very quaint. So let's zoom out and explore some of this green. You can see the sprawl of the W here. The actual W, I think, is... See, like, from up here, I'm like, where is it? I think it's over here. I think this must be... I literally need, like, that picture on Wikipedia to be like, oh, that, okay, I get it. I really can see it from above. Right here? I don't know. But you can see just the green rivers coming through. And let's look at some slideshows. They've got to be good. W du Benin, Parc National. Hello. There we go. See some tourists there camping out. Oh well. This has nothing to do with the park, but they are nice pictures, I suppose. Alright. That's what I get for clicking on something that I didn't click on before. W. Here we go. Let's look at some animals here. Big, beautiful, natural area. Oh. Did you see him? It's an elephant. It's weird how, like, these big old gray friends just, like, camouflage so well into this environment. They really don't seem like they would. But, they are kind of hard to see against all of the plant life. Big rapids there. Another one of these outposts up in a baobab tree. Little baboon. More sweet elephants. I think this is like a little picnic area. Little hut. And yeah, ooh, some cool old skulls there. My goodness. Giraffe friends, elephant friends. And yeah, a buffalo. And more little huts. It seems like a really beautiful park. It's sad that poaching is such an issue here because it's just so lovely. But yeah, you can see the Niger River, the most dominant river of West Africa, creating the border here with Niger. That's another English-French colonizer thing because the British said Niger and the French said Niger. So in the French parts, it's Niger. In the English parts, it's Niger. Very confusing. But I pretty much don't have anything else to show you in Alibori. You can see the borders there. So that's going to be it for tonight. Not a lot of history and geography, but I still think some interesting stuff. I think the legend of Kisra is really fascinating. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy this style of content. Next, we're going to hop over to the other end of Africa, to Djibouti. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. And I do hope that you found this video relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good